Authoritarian regimes have always waged a war on knowledge. From burning books to silencing professors, one hallmark of authoritarian rule is its hostility towards independent thought. Across history, dictatorships have sought not only to command armies and economies, but also to control the very definition of truth. Intellectuals, educators, and scientists, people whose very work depends on questioning and discovering, often become prime targets of these regimes. Through censorship, terror, and persecution, these regimes try to monopolize truth, prevent dissent, and reshape culture in their own image. In Nazi Germany, the campaign against, quote, un-German ideas began almost immediately after Hitler's rise to power. In 1933, university students and party loyalists staged public book burnings across the country, bringing the arts into the world of politics. In fact, artists have also always been a major target of these regimes. Works by Jewish authors, left-wing theorists, and modernist thinkers were tossed into the flames. Literally tens of thousands of books, some of which were irreplaceable, were destroyed. Universities and newspapers were purged of independent scholars and journalists, and they were replaced with loyal propagandists who devoted everything to the ideological purity of their publications. Entire disciplines, from modern art to psychoanalysis, were condemned as degenerate or un-German. Just a generation later, you see Maoist China embark on an equally devastating campaign against any intellectual life. During the anti-rightist campaign and later the Cultural Revolution, teachers, writers, and professors were labeled as enemies of the people. Many were beaten, tortured, imprisoned, driven to suicide. Schools became arenas of political frenzy. Students would attack professors in mobs and beat them. They would denounce their instructors for their beliefs and what they taught. They replaced scholarship in these institutions with loyalty displays, and they replaced curriculum with propaganda. Genuine research and education all but disappeared under just waves of ideological conformity enforced by the state. You see the same kind of thing in Cambodia's Khmer Rouge when he took this anti-intellectual fervor to a nightmarish level. This regime shuttered schools, demolished libraries and temples, and declared war on all supposed corrupt knowledge, including religion, education, and even literacy itself. People who wore glasses or appeared educated were executed as enemies of the revolution. This systematic annihilation of intellectual life left Cambodia's culture and infrastructure in ruins. In Stalin's Soviet Russia, the same logic of ideological control played out in the sciences. Trofim Lysenko's unscientific agricultural theories became state doctrine because they aligned with party ideology. They had no basis in reality. But that's the point they were at, where reality took second place to what the party and the leader said. Any scientists, geneticists, or so forth who defended actual research in science were dismissed, imprisoned, or executed. References to genetics vanished from textbooks, contributing to agricultural collapse and widespread famine. I mean, they had unbelievable levels of their own citizens dying from famine during those times. And then you see the same kind of thing again under Francisco Franco's dictatorship in Spain, where political repression extended deeply into the nation's intellectual class. Teachers, artists, writers, and academics associated with the defeated republic were purged, imprisoned, or killed. Spain's rich intellectual community, its intelligentsia, was decimated, leaving cultural life impoverished for decades. Even in more recent decades, the persecution of thinkers and educators has echoed across nations. Idi Amin's Uganda, several Latin American dictatorships, and more contemporary illiberal governments such as Viktor Orban's Hungary have targeted intellectuals, journalists, and artists. These assaults on independent minds have caused profound brain drains, driving many of the most capable citizens into exile and having deep effects on the social and economic standing of those countries. But authoritarian regimes suppress intellectual life because critical inquiry, evidence based knowledge, and independent thought threaten their monopoly on truth and power. Scholars and educators can expose lies, organize opposition, and cultivate values that challenge state propaganda. Research, teaching, and critique create alternative ways of understanding the world, ways incompatible with a single official narrative. In the end, the war against knowledge is always a war against freedom itself.